What's up, peoples? All right, Earl, we're on a little bit early here.
So
What's up? I need to get some water. I know I'm on a little bit early right now anyway.
2 or 3 this year, that would be the goal. But overall, this is long. I mean, I would say, of course, I want apartments. You know what I mean? But as far as rentals for right now, if I can get maybe like 50, apartments, 50 rentals, something like that,
Right.
that would be, a goal. But I really, once I get so many rentals, I definitely want to try to, do like syndication and have people come in and kind of get an apartment, kind of, scale that way.
That's what's up. Cool. Like I said, some people are probably going to tap on a little bit. You guys might tap off in a few minutes because it's not going to take too long. So at any point in time, stop me. At any point in time, ask questions. When we get to the very end, ask as many questions as you want. If no one else is on at that time, we can just talk a bunch of crap about whatever we want to talk about. So let's start off. Who all has already signed up? Who's already seen the videos? Who's already got all the contacts?
Me. I've seen them.
Okay. And then Matt, I think you have as well, right?
No, I'm actually not familiar with what you're talking about.
Okay. Well, that'll be good. So that means you haven't seen any of this. So you just kind of heard a little bit about what I'm doing. So I'll make sure I get that link. I'll either put it on some notes or I have it on some of the Facebook post where I have this link for this Zoom meeting. So I'll put it on there as well. But in case I forget by the end of the day, just let me know and I'll send you a link. And then it's just going to be more videos on exactly what I'm just going to elaborate on right now. And then it'll also give you all of the contacts that, I mean, I'm not giving you every single private lender I have, but I'm giving you at least one private lender who will help you out in this specific strategy and will fund the deals for you. But at the same time, you guys, and I'll explain that a little bit more, you guys can find your own private lenders, you can find your own attorneys, you can find your own mortgage brokers. I'm just trying to at least start people out if they want to use any of my contacts. I really don't care who you use as long as the deal works for you. That's what really matters. So let's start out. Or actually, Perry, have you already seen any of the videos?
No, I haven't seen any videos either. I just saw your Facebook Live, and then I forgot how we got in contact with
That's cool.
On Facebook, but I've seen Facebook Live, so that's why I reached out. And
cool.
From there.
All right.
If you can send that to me too, that'd be great.
Sweet. Well, so Craig can probably already speak up a little bit and already know that it works. And I just got finished doing another one the other day, and left with that check, that $1,300 check, which means I didn't really have to pay any money for that property. So let's see. Let's start out with, let's just keep it and say, hey, let's buy a $100,000 property just to keep things simple. So find you a deal with equity. So you already know right now from your research that this property is going to be worth $100,000, but you're able to buy it from the seller or from the wholesaler or whoever it might be. You're going to be able to buy that property for $65,000. Let's just keep it simple first, and then we'll start adding additional what ifs. Okay. So you buy the property for $65,000, and it's already got a tenant in place. It's already cash flowing, whatever. It might not be cash flowing just yet, but you're going to increase the rent and it's going to cash flow. But $65,000 purchase, now you're going to use somebody else's money, a private lender, your friend, it doesn't matter who it is, you're going to use somebody else's money other than your own to buy the property. More than likely, they're going to charge you some kind of fee. They're going to want some kind of money back for lending you the money. So let's just say absolute worst case scenario, if it's a $65,000 purchase, this is not going to happen unless you're using like hard money, and that still probably isn't going to happen. But even then, let's say his fees were close to $5,000. So let's just say you're all in now at $70,000. You go to the closing table, it might cost you $600 or $1,000. Let's just say it cost you $1,000 to close in that property. You're now in all at $71,000 right now. $1,000 out of your pocket because you paid for closing, and your private lender If you choose to, and you're really good with your private lender, you can have him roll his fees into that loan. Purchase price is $65,000, $5,000 fees. Roll it all into the loan, so now you got $70,000. Now you just immediately turn right back around and do a rate and term refi. So many people, I just left another event last night, and either tons of people didn't watch the video, or they watched the video, or I'm sorry, they just got the contacts and didn't get the videos, and they still couldn't catch on. They still were locked in on this one thing. Because I said I left with a check, immediately everybody thinks, oh, he's doing a cash out refi. Get that out of your head. It is not a cash out refi. It's a rate and term refi. So the following day, what's that?
So you said rate and term refi.
Rate and term refi, not a cash out refi. The second you talk to your mortgage broker or even your asset-based portfolio lender, whatever, if you mention, I want to do a cash out refi, or hey, I want to do a refi and I want some money back, to them, that's all they know is cash out refi. What's up, Philip? We just started. I'll kind of fill you in on a little bit here in just a minute. Stop me with any questions and whatnot. So, Philip, what we just did really quick was just make things simple. We got a house that is worth $100,000. You're going to buy it for, let's say, $65,000. And now we're going to talk to our private lender, and his fees are going to be about $5,000. It's not, but just to keep numbers simple, let's say it's $5,000. So we're all in at 70. You go to closing, and it's $1,000 closing cost. It's probably less, but let's just say 71. So here we are. Close on it, $70,000 all in, $1,000 out of your own pocket for your closing cost. So now the following day you do that rate and term refi. Again, not the cash out refi. Never use that word. Otherwise, every lender is going to immediately think cash out refi means you have to wait 6 months to do a cash out refi. Okay. That's why almost everybody who, when they see me do this, they're like, nope, it's not possible. You can't do that. You got to wait 6 months. And I've done it time over time again. And for some reason, they still think that you got to wait 6 months. And that's because of the cash out refi. So just do a rate and term refi the following day, if you choose to. Obviously, the sooner you can do it, the better off it is for you. And of course, it depends on your private lender. What are they charging you? Are they charging you daily, monthly? Is it just one flat fee? Whatever it might be is going to be case by case basis. So the following day, if you want to, do the rate and term refi with your conventional mortgage. This is going to be conventional mortgage. So you are doing long docs. You are going to have to give them samples of your hair and your blood drops and all that other kind of stuff. There are other ways to do it. We'll get into that in just a minute. But rate and term refi, start the next day, and they will literally, you can probably get it done in about 3 weeks. Some people, it might take them close to a month, but let's say it's 3 weeks that you're doing your rate and term refi. When they start to, or when you get to, hey, how much is your loan? You're obviously going to say, well, my loan's $70,000. They're going to reach back to your private lender and get a loan payoff. Your lender's going to send them the loan payoff that says, yep, he's got a loan for $70,000. Now they're going to say, okay, cool. Let's just go ahead and do the appraisal on your property. Yep, they came back at $100,000, just like you said. Well, now we can give you 80% loan to value, or we can do 75% loan to value. Some places will go, a little bit lower than that, depending on your mortgage company. But most mortgage companies will do the 75% refi on it. I generally try not to go up to the 80% mark. I try to stick closer to 75. But if you need to, if you have to, you can go up a little bit. So now the appraisal comes back, says it's worth $100,000. They now say, cool, we can give you 75% loan to value, but your loan from your private lender is only $70,000, so you don't need the full 75. Next step is, yes, that's correct, but I want you to roll your fees into your loan. And Fannie Freddie allows them to roll their fees into the loan. So now, as long as their fees are below that 75% threshold, then they can roll the fees into their loan. So now what do? You're good. They say they're going to give you 75. Right now you're all in at 70. Now their fees, their origination, all that stuff comes up to be, let's just say $5,000. Again, I know it's not. I know it's going to probably be like 3,200 or something like that. But let's just say it's $5,000. Now you're back up to what, 75,000? So now you go back to closing. You do the rate and term refi already with your lender. You go back to closing. You close out the deal. Your new mortgage broker sends the money over, pays off your private lender. Now you walk away with a $75,000 loan, but you still have to pay for your closing cost. So now you've, out of pocket, you paid for your first closing cost and your second closing cost. So that would be, you're still in the deal with a little bit of money, but at least you've got an investment property for less than $2,000. Now, here's where you can actually do one thing better. If you have that extra room, let's say that your first private lender, all his fees came to be 69. So instead of being all in at 70, you're all in at 69. And then on your rate and term refi, same kind of thing. Instead of $5,000, maybe it was 3,500. So now you're at 69 plus 3,500. So now you're at what, 72.5? Well, because they said they can still give you up to $75,000. Right now, you're all in at 72.5. Here's the cool thing: Fannie Freddie will allow you up to $2,000 or 2%, whichever one is lower, right? And it's usually going to probably be that 2% on a lot of these deals that aren't reaching $100,000 loan. So now, let's say that you might get back $1,750 or something like that. So they will actually take that amount of money and roll it into your loan. As long as that $1,700 or whatever that 2% is, less than 2% up to $2,000, as long as it doesn't exceed that 75,000 loan to value, you can have every penny of that. So what does that mean for you? That means your closing cost, if you're owed $1,700 on the HUD, it even tells you on the right side, hey, they're going to give you that 17 or 19 or 1,800 bucks or whatever it is. Well, it's a credit to you, but it's still part of the loan. So you still have to pay for it, but they're just kind of like giving you an IOU, if you will, right? Just like your credit card, you can take a cash advance or something. So they're going to let you walk with money, but you still owe them that money. So that's what it is. So if you've got $1,700, $1,800 credit that you're owed from them, when it comes down to the very bottom of your HUD statement, obviously all the closing costs for the attorney, title fees, and all that stuff is going to then be deducted from the credit that they give you. So if there's any balance left over, which is this, if there's any balance left over, you walk with a check. So in this situation, $1,300 and some change, what did that help me do? That helped me pay for my first closing cost that I came out of pocket, $800.
Yeah.
So I basically reimbursed myself for the amount of money that I paid on the first closing cost 3 weeks ago. This deal specifically took me 3 months because I had to do a rehab, but that's just kind of the most basic way. So before I step into some more what ifs, what are questions that you have right now before I take the next level?
The situation that I'm in, I'll just kind of explain it a little bit, right? Like the situation that I'm in, I have a house under contract right now for $160,000. As is condition right now, it's worth about I'm not sure exactly, like $2something. At the repair, it's like $325 or something like that. And it's sitting on 10.8 acres, right? And it's like in North Georgia. But what I was thinking about doing was I was trying to see if it was possible that I could snatch, by refinancing, if I could snatch even more money and possibly throwing like some trailers onto the land, if they'll let me do it, like subdivide the land and throwing trailers on there and kind of maximize the opportunity. Other than that, I'm just sitting on a house with a bunch of land or whatever for no reason.
A rental property. How you can get money out of that property?
Yeah, so that's what I was mainly concerned, because I got it at a really good price.
Let me do this so that way we can still stay on topic. In case once we finish off this topic, then let's talk about that, because I can definitely help you out with that, no problem. But
Okay.
just to respect everybody else's time in case they're minimized on their time, let's stay the topic, and then I'll definitely jump on that because I do have some good ideas for you. Does anybody have, so far up to where we're at right now, does anybody have any questions on what I had already mentioned?
Yeah, I got a question. So what about, so are you doing this because like when you do hard money and private, you typically do your business name. So when you get the property, how does it work when you refinance? Are you going through and using a personal credit to refinance, or to get the rate and term? It's called rate and term refinance, right?
That's correct. So on that one specifically, on this specifically is conventional, or some of us say it's long docs. So it's going to be your W-2, it's going to be your blood type, it's going to be your spouse, it's going to be years of history, it's going to be your credit score, it's going to be all of that, right? So that is going to be the next step. How we can get around that for someone who has a 1099 job, who hasn't been working at their job for 2 years plus, right? That's going to be a little bit more difficult, or to some it might be impossible to get a conventional mortgage if they don't have a W-2 job, which is that's the sucky thing about a lot of banks, is that you've got to fit in their little stupid box. If you don't fit in their box, then they're not going to loan you. That's when you have to be a little bit more creative.
Okay.
So remind me on that one. I'll definitely, matter of fact, I'll just go ahead and touch base on that. Matt, did you have any question before I continue on Perry's question?
You said,
No, I don't have any questions on that. Have you hit your limit with conventional loans yet?
What was the last thing you said, Matt?
I was just wondering if you've hit your limit with conventional loans, if that's been an obstacle for you.
It will be. And then as soon as it does, then I've already got the asset base and the portfolio lender lined up. So I'm just going to go ahead and roll. I might roll all those or some of them into a portfolio loan. I might just end up buying a boatload of other properties and just leave what I already have conventional, leave that sitting there since I've already got such a good rate on it right now. It's just going to be a case by case. It just depends on what kind of deals I land upon. And that pretty much that's going to tell me exactly what I really need to do. If I'm not pressed for time and I don't make the wrong decision, if I actually have time and I'm sitting down and trying to run numbers and think, how much is origination going to be? What's the interest difference? 5% or 4 3/4 for my conventional versus 6.87% on a portfolio loan. If I run all those numbers, then I figure out what's the exit strategy. Am I going to want to keep the property for 2 or 3 years, or am I going to want to keep it for 10 years? And then that's going to tell me what I need to do. But yeah, right now, you're only going to be able to get 10, as you already know. So that will definitely be a problem. Like right now, I've already got quite a few with my private lender. I've got a handful under conventional, and so I'm about to roll some into portfolio, and I might continue on with my conventional. I might save a few on the conventional side in case I get a higher priced deal, $90,000, $100,000, $120,000 property, where I'd rather spend the $120,000 loan at a 5% interest than blow it on a $60,000 loan. So that's definitely going to be a case by case for sure, but it will be a problem. So Perry, you were talking about, if you're having issues with conventional, or if that came up and was a problem, then for some of those people who have 1099 jobs, or who haven't been at their job long enough, or they're not making enough money, or their credit sucks or whatever, that's fine. Then clearly you want to try, first and foremost, before you do any of this, you want to try to be creative. You want to try to have the subject to deals. You want to try to do the wraparound mortgages. You want to try to do the seller or owner finance deals with those people first. That's for another day. If you can do any of that first, that's the first thing that you should try to do. But if you need to go back into controlling the deal and getting a loan, then let's say, cool, you're not going to fit in the box of a bank, and now you've got to be a little bit creative. Then that's when you can go to an asset-based or a portfolio lender. More so, they're usually the same entity, and they do a little bit of both. Asset-based lender is more of like a one property at a time. Portfolio is wrapping a certain number of properties with a minimal amount of that loan that they're going to require. So asset-based lender, you can buy one property. It's going to be a higher rate than your conventional. So now your conventional might be 5.5% right now, whereas a good asset-based lender might be high sixes, 7. Then you're going to probably start getting into mid 7s to mid 8%, depending on your credit. But an asset-based lender primarily looks at the asset itself, the property itself. How much equity do you have in the property, and how is it performing? That's why they don't really care about, do you have a W-2 job? How much money are you making? What's your blood type? Who your spouse is? They don't really care so much about all that. Most of the asset-based lenders will, however, pull your credit probably once every 90 days, but it's not solely based on your credit. They still try to look at the performance of the property, but they will take into some consideration of your credit, thinking of how you're going to pay. So if you really have really low credit, you might have to pay that higher 8.5% on an asset-based loan. However, if you've already used your private lender to get in and you've got the equity on the property and you're using your asset-based lender as a refi strategy, as long as you have the equity and as long as the numbers still work with your tenant in place, I don't care if it's 7, 8, 9, 10% interest, because your tenant's paying for your interest, not you. So a lot of people will complain about, oh, well, I don't want to go to an asset-based lender. I don't want to do a hard money lender. I mean, obviously hard, you're thinking more of a flip, but a lot of people talk down about high interest rate loans. But when you really think about it, do the numbers still work? You're not paying for it, your tenant is. And then you get to write off your interest. Your interest is tax deductible. So I really don't care as long as the numbers work. So I've got a couple more things on top of that, but any questions so far on now the asset-based lender?
What kind of fees are you seeing when you're doing these refis?
So on the refi, I wish I had it right in front of me. I don't have the exact numbers in front of me, but I think for like my loan originator, it's just shy of 1% for him. And then I can't remember the other fees, but I'll give you an example of this last loan amount was $95,000. And I think all of my fees on the refi for my underwriter, broker, all their fees came out to be like $3,500 or $3,700. So less than, I guess just a little over 3%, 3.5% is about what that comes out to be for all the fees included.
And then when you're getting the private money the first time around, I'm sure they have some fees baked in there too. So
yes.
What, you know?
So again, everybody's going to be different. I know one of the guys that I will give you access to, the way that he structured it, it turns out to be he's giving you 3 months to be able to do this, and he will extend it if you need. I actually have 2 guys that are going to do the same thing. One is a true hard money, and one is a true private lender, but some of his rates are a little bit higher than maybe your friend, your doctor, or somebody like that might have money that doesn't really know the industry. He knows the industry. But if you call him right now, I could get a couple $1 million tomorrow, right? So he is true private money. But anyway, so the way he's structuring this is I'll give you 3 months to be able to buy the property, and hopefully it doesn't take you freaking 3 months to do the refi. But in case you need a month to do a rehab on it, and then you need another month to do the rate and term refi, then that's 2 months. So he's still giving you like a whole nother month of leeway. And so what both of these guys are doing are they're charging one flat fee at the beginning, but it covers all 3 months. And so what it comes down to, if you actually try to run all the numbers, it comes down to 2% origination and 10% interest per month. Now on their paperwork, I believe it's going to say, I believe it's going to say 5%. But again, I ran the numbers. When I first saw 5%, I'm like, man, no one's going to do this. But once I ran the numbers, and I'm like, oh shit, it's the same thing as 2% and 10% interest. So whatever, it's not my money, and as long as I've got equity in the deal, I don't have to come out of pocket. So it is what it is. They got to make money. We got to make money. But again, you might find a doctor, a neighbor, a friend, or whatever that's not going to charge you anything, and then it works the same way. So of course, yeah, there are gonna be some fees, but keep working on finding better deals for sure for yourself. Absolutely, I try to tell people that all the time. People are saying, "Oh, you're giving all this away, but what if we don't want to use your lender? Don't use my lender. I don't care. Don't use the mortgage broker. I don't care. Don't use the closing attorney. It doesn't bother me. I'm just trying to share the info to whoever wants to use it." So here's the next step that a lot of people are going to ask. Well, you'll hear from a lot of people, hey, I bought the property all cash, and then I put $20,000. Let's say I bought it for $40,000, and I put $20,000 of my cash into the property for a rehab. And 2 months later, I tried to do they're going to say, I tried to do a cash out refi, and they said I got to wait 6 months. Okay, well, then I finally realized, oh, well, let me just do a rate and term refi. Well, if you bought the property with all your cash, or even used the private lender's cash, but then you put your own $20,000 into the rehab, if you wait 6 months, you can get all of your money back if you've got the equity. If you try to do a rate and term refi anywhere between day one and up until right before the 6 month, they're only going to give you back what you're based off of your initial purchase price. So if your initial purchase price was 40 grand and you've got a house now that's worth 100 and it appraised at 100, you want to do a 75% loan to value, you're not going to get 75 grand. You're going to get that $40,000 back. That's all you're going to get. So what does that mean? It means don't use all your cash. Don't use any of your own cash. That's when it's beneficial to have your private lender and let them give you what we call as the LIP account, the loan in progress, or your escrow for your construction draw, however you want to call it. You're basically using your private lender to give you the rehab funds, just like a lot of people think of a hard money lender. They're going to pay for your purchase price and then have the loan amount sitting in the account until you've done the rehab, and then they'll give you a draw. And then once you're done with the rehab, then you go right back to your conventional mortgage, or you go to your asset-based lender or whatever and do the rate and term refi. And then that's when your private lender is going to send them your loan payoff. Well, the loan payoff is going to include your rehab cost. So that's how you are able to, what I call is forcing the equity. So, which is that's sometimes when you're going to get your best deal, because a lot of times, especially if you've got really good contractors, or you know how to do just enough on your rehab where an appraiser is going to come in and value your property more like one of the other rehabs that are in the area, even though you didn't quite do as much. So as long as cosmetically you can make it look like the higher end rehabs, then your appraiser is probably going to come back at a much higher appraised value, which is exactly what you want. Because the higher the appraised value is, you already know you're only going to get 75 or 80% of it back for your refi. So you want to be able to make sure that you cover all of your fees from both lenders, from both closings, and still be under that 75 to 80% mark. And then that way you can get into this rental without having any cash.
So that makes a lot of sense. I've heard lenders say, or use the acronym LTC, loan to cost versus loan to value. So when you're buying this the first time around with the private money, obviously your attorney is putting that on the HUD so you can pull that back out. How do they write that on there? And is it a draw that your private lender is giving you, or is it, how's that structured?
So you're saying how they have to put the draw amount, like the construction amount on the HUD? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, in order to make that LTC higher so you can pull money back out, right? That's what the whole goal is.
Yeah. So on the initial purchase on your first HUD, you will have, depending on your private lender. Like I know with some of my lenders, I can literally, because I've done so much business with them and they trust me and whatnot, I can literally just say, hey, look, I'm going to spend 10 grand on paint and carpet and do something else. I'm not going to call you in like a week and say, hey, can I have my draw? Because you already know I'm going to do paint and carpet in 4 or 5 freaking days. So just go ahead and at closing, just go ahead and give me all of my money. And so sometimes what I may do is leave out the construction budget or the LIP account and just add it to the existing purchase price. So then just let them send me 60 grand and just say like, that's the purchase price. That's how much they're sending over, even though the purchase price might be 50. It's just like an overage, and then I'm going to get that money back. Or you can, it's probably going to be safer if you still put like that construction draw or whatever, or the LIP account, but then your private lender can still send the entire amount. And then obviously if they sent the overage, even though you have that LIP account, then the closing attorney is then going to say, well, they gave you the entire thing, so you're going to leave with a $10,000 check. So now you use that for your rehab. And then again, now you're doing the refi. They never see the initial HUD. Your next mortgage company, your asset-based lender, is not going to see your HUD. So it doesn't matter what is on your HUD. It matters what your private lender sends as far as that loan payoff. Whatever that letter says is what the new mortgage company is going to base their loan off of.
So when I've done refis before, it's been 6 months, so it's been a full cash out refi.
Yep.
And I know what you're talking about is kind of delayed finances.
Delayed finance is if you're using all your own cash. Delayed finance, you got to wait 3 months, or then sometimes then you can try to push it and get some of your money back. But otherwise, that's what delayed financing is when you're using your cash. But
yeah, and delayed financing you can do day one. So yeah, I see what you're saying because you already have a loan. But they're not requiring you to see the HUD or closing documents, or what? You're just saying they're requesting the payoff.
Yep, that's all the new on your rate and term refi, the second company. That's all they're going to do is call or email your first lender. Doesn't matter if it's a private lender or if it's Bank of America or whatever. All they're going to do is say, hey, what is the amount that Matt Nicklin owes you? And they say, here you go, here's the amount. And by the way, here's the other cool thing. Let's say that it takes you a little bit longer to get all this stuff done, and your private lender starts adding on additional interest and fees and stuff like that. In the loan payoff, he can add all of your interest. If you work out a really good deal with your private lender, you could either have him add all his fees on the front end, or you can have him add it all on the back end. It doesn't matter. I mean, you can figure out how you don't want to pay monthly interest. And so then at the back end, when they send the loan payoff statement to the new mortgage company, it's going to include all of your interest and any late fees or whatever it might be. So Fannie Freddie allows them to roll any kind of fees, interest, origination. They can roll all that into the loan.
Nice stuff, man. Nice stuff. I like that.
Yep. And then now here's another thing that I do. I will even tell one of my private lenders, because you guys know me, I've got an entire team working with me. Well, guess what? I still owe them commissions. So what I'll do now, pardon me, I didn't do it initially, but what I started recently doing is saying, hey, Mr. Private Lender, here's my plan. I want you to be able, if it's a house that I want to buy, right, then I'm going to have him cover my employees' commissions. I'm going to add that as part of the loan. So not only is he paying for my employees' commissions, he's also paying for my rehab. As long as I still have the equity and I'm keeping him safe, and I know that I'm going to still be good, land under that 75% loan to value on the refi, he'll do it. So now I get my employees' commissions paid, I get the rehab paid. And again, if I really want to work it and I'm smart and I didn't do it the first couple deals, and now I'm just starting to kind of catch on to where I can roll all his fees, all the interest, I can put that on the back end. I don't have to bring any money to closing if he'll work it out with me, if it's a good deal. So employees are paid, rehab's paid, his fees are paid. The next step is, if I really want to, I could be like, hey, do you mind pitching me an extra $1,000? Because if he pitches me an extra $1,000, he already knows he's making an origination off of that. He's already safe because I've got enough equity, and that extra $1,000 might be what pays for my closing cost. So now if I really am good, I can get the rehab, the commissions paid, his fees paid, and my attorney paid, all from the get-go. And now I don't have to pay or do anything until I do the rate and term refi. And then on the rate and term refi, I just roll all their fees into that loan. And I can still come out below the 75% if it's a really good deal. So now, worst case scenario, maybe your appraiser came in a little bit lower than you wanted. It was a tight deal already. So now it came back to where, hey, it's 90, let's say 95,000 instead of 100,000. I don't have a calculator in front of me, but that probably means 75% of that's probably going to be like 73 grand. So now you basically have to come to closing on the refi with, let's say, $2,000. So after all that, you still got this investment property with only $2,000 out of your pocket when you come to closing. And then the next step on top of that is, if you still don't want to use your own cash, if you've got a home equity line of credit, you've got a business line of credit, you've got a Roth IRA, you've got whatever else that you can try to pull money. Well, Roth IRA might be a little questionable on that one. So just nix that I said that. But there's so many other ways you can pull money out of a credit card that might be a really low interest, just to get that $2,000 that you need to bring to closing. That's if you really are trying to like prove a point, or like, I'm able to buy this deal with $0 period of my money. If you want to be all like that over a couple $1,000s, go for it. I really don't care. But there's so many ways to use other people's money and be able to get into these properties with nothing in it. And again, hopefully you're still cash flowing a little bit. But on top of all that, here's the one thing that so many people ignore. So many people think, oh, well, maybe it's only going to cash flow $100. I don't want that property unless I'm making $200-300 in cash flow. Your tenants are paying for your interest. Your tenants are paying for your mortgage. They're paying off your mortgage every single month. You're getting more equity. Your interest is tax deductible. And now the IRS is giving you 27.5 years of depreciation on all of your single family residence. So what does that mean? That means every single year, depending on, if we're talking about a $100,000 deal, and depending on the rent, then you will be able to show basically a phantom loss, because the amount of money that you actually make by the end of the year, let's say that you're only cash flowing $200 a month. By the end of the year, you've cash flowed $2,400 for the year. 27.5 years depreciation on, again, I'm not looking at my calculator, I'm just going to say a $100,000 house, somewhere around $3,000, a little over $3,000 a year. So if you are showing right now that you made $2,400, but the IRS says, well, your house actually lost value, it depreciated, and the depreciation was, let's just say $3,000. I know it's more than that, but let's say it's $3,000 for the year. On paper, you lost $600 for the year, but your bank account still showed $2,400. This is how the wealthy live without paying taxes, because you can literally have tons and tons and tons and tons of rentals and actually show a loss on paper. If you show a loss on paper, you can't pay taxes on money you didn't make. So even though that money's sitting in the bank, you're not paying taxes. So don't forget the fact that your interest is deductible and that you're writing off that depreciation on your house, which is also, if you've got other income, you wholesale, you flip, you've got a W-2 job, you've got other 1099 money coming in, whatever it might be, that loss, that $600 loss, let's say times 20 properties is like what, 12 grand? So depending on where your tax bracket is, if you can now lower it by $12,000 because you're able to show that loss from all those properties, it might put you in a lower tax bracket. So that's another thing, is those houses will help offset your adjusted gross income by the end of the year based on whatever, your other money that you're making from your other jobs. So I think that was something that Craig was talking about too, is that he needs to find a way to kind of help offset the amount of money that he's making now and pay less taxes. So what else? What other questions do we have? What else do we have? Anything from you, Craig?
So,
I think you hit it right on the tee. I mean, yeah. The questions I had. I mean, because I was wondering how. I mean, everything I've written down, like it answered all of my questions.
Good.
I'm actually glad. Yeah, I'm glad we actually went over this because I didn't know half of this, man. I'm not even gonna lie to you.
It's all
I
good.
didn't even think of it this way.
That's cool. I'll make sure that you guys have the links to those other videos. You'll have all the contacts and everything like that. Matt, anything else that popped up? Any questions?
no, I think I'm good. So I guess really the only cost you have when you're coming out of pocket is just the appraisal cost between it.
Yeah, that's true. You're absolutely right. Sometimes your lender will probably have you pay via credit card or something like that. So that is a very valid point. I honestly, it's such a small amount, $350, $450 or something, but it is still a cost. I totally agree. But then that's when the check that you got back from your rate and term refi, if you still have any amount left over from your refi, you can apply that back towards your appraisal as well.
Okay, gotcha. I got a question. Can this
Go for it,
strategy work on like low end properties? Let's say I'm in Atlanta as well. So let's say if the property, let's say if I go to like Tennessee or St. Louis or whatever, can this property work on Alabama? Can this strategy work on those type of lower end or properties?
So you had some background noise. It was kind of hard to hear you, but basically it sounded like you said, is it going to work on really low end properties like what, 10, 15, 20, $35,000 properties?
Yeah, that's correct. Like some areas like St. Louis or Tennessee, in Atlanta, our properties are a certain price. Certain cities are a lot cheaper. Can it work in those other cities?
Yeah, man. I've got I got 6 or so in Grantville right now, and I'm about to buy another 1 or 2 over in Noonan, and those are all $35,000 properties. So here's how that's going to work. You can certainly get your private lender to buy those. Are you going to be able to do a conventional loan on it? Probably not. You might be able to do something like you might be to go to like a small bank, and they might do that. I have not tried that. I've heard of other people who have worked that out, like credit unions. They could probably do it, but most of these mortgage brokers and stuff, they're going to call that, I think, like a high cost loan, or I can't remember the exact name, but basically to them it's not worth their time. They could do it, but they probably are just going to say they can't do it just because they would rather do the same amount of work and get more money for a higher loan than doing the same amount of work for a low-end property. So here's what you would end up doing is, or at least I'm not saying it's the only way to do it, but the one way that I'm doing it right now is I'm just buying a bunch of those with my private lender, same exact thing. Nothing changes on the front end, everything stays the same, but how I refi it is going to be different. That's when I go to my portfolio lender and I can figure out what is my portfolio lender, what's their minimum amount that they're going to loan on. Everybody's a little different. I think this one specifically is right around $500,000 or a certain number of properties. So what do? I just try to get as many of those lower end properties through my private lender until I can get close to that minimal amount that my portfolio lender will lend on. And then I just do the refi on it. And then that way I can still fit 10, 20, 30, 5 properties, 7 properties, whatever it might be to reach me to that $500,000. And then just roll all those into one portfolio loan. Now that one might be a little bit trickier. You may just have to, hopefully, if you're talking about a bunch of like $20,000, $30,000 properties, you probably are either going to be, you better start identifying a lot of those properties, or identify a lot of those super quick and be ready to buy a bunch so that way you can hit that minimal amount on the portfolio. Or you can just work with whatever private lender or your friend that has the money, and instead of doing like a 6-month or a 12-month term, then just tell them, hey, this might be 16, 18, 20 months before I can get enough properties. And as long as you're still making it worth their time and they're making money, who knows, you might find somebody with a 401k or whatever that, or a Roth or whatever else that could be your private lender, and they don't care if it takes 2 months, 6 months, 2 years. As long as you're giving them the good interest that makes sense to them, they're making money constantly every single month. They don't have to worry about it. And then that way you're not stressing. It gives you more time to build more lower end properties to then finally roll it into a portfolio loan. And you could do that in any state that I know of.
Wow, I didn't know they had portfolio, I guess, lenders like that.
Yep. There's a lot of them out there. Everybody just has different fees, different origination, different fees, different procedures, different criteria. You just kind of have to shop around.
Okay, got it.
Yep.
Appreciate it.
Yep. All right. So I know, Craig, I know you want to talk about the other stuff. Matt, Perry, you can stay on and talk some smack with us. I can try to help Craig out a little bit more, or if you guys have any more questions, let me answer those first. I just want to make sure I'm taking care of you guys first before if you need to go.
It's cool. I'll stay on, man, because he may be in this. I may be in the same situation as him. You know what I mean?
All right, sounds good. Matt, you okay, or any other questions?
No, I'm good. I got a few more minutes here, so I'll stay on and see what's going on.
All right, sounds good. All right, Craig. So try to, if you can, what time are we at right now? All right, so we got about 10 minutes or so. Try to stick with straight to the facts. Don't worry about, what color the trees are and how pretty things are and all that. Just go straight to it.
Just to make it real simple, I got the property at 160. Sorry about that. 160 is sitting on 10.8 acres. Originally I was going to wholesale it, but then I thought about the idea, and this is just a thought. I don't know if the zoning even will require it, which it probably will because it's rural, whatever. But I was 10.8 acres. I was thinking, okay, if I grab the property, do this method and then just put trailer. I can't refinance some trailers though, right? That's not even. Is that even possible?
You're talking about mobile homes?
Mobile homes. Yeah, that's not, because it's not a hard asset, right?
You could probably do an entire park. You could probably do that, but if you're talking about like trying to finance different mobile homes, that would probably be more something you want to do with a private lender or something like that, more likely. Because, as a matter of fact, I just got off the phone with a friend of mine who actually has a small deal where he's trying to get it funded right now, and he went through like 7 to 10 plus banks, and he could not get lending from anybody on this little small seven unit trailer park. So it's very difficult. It is really difficult. I mean, maybe you could try to go into like some kind of commercial loan, or use a line.
Yeah, and I was told about the commercial loan because I was told that once you start dealing with more than 2 acres on land, even though there is a house on there, they start looking at it as a commercial situation, because they're wondering, like, why do you have a house and all of this land? What are you going to be doing with it? So and I'm like loans and and all this other stuff, I'm like super new to it. So, because I was used to, just partnering with people. You bring the money, I bring the deal.
Yeah.
So, so now that I'm trying to venture off on my own, it's a little difficult trying to understand, exactly how, like, being creative as far as coming up with the financing. But, it was just an idea. Like, I have another duplex also in Atlanta that I was thinking about maybe keeping and using in a situation, because I got that at a really good price in Hunter Hills. I want to show you some of these deals if one day you have time later on this week. So, and just thumbs up or thumbs down if it's even worth doing, because, I come across a lot of properties, but, and just, you just take a look at it, evaluate it yourself and say, you know what, I wouldn't do that. Don't waste your time on that. Cause it was just a thought. And then it just so happened that these properties came up, and then I was, looking at your videos, I'm like, you know what, let me take a shot at this,
That's what's up.
But
so that's I could still go a little bit more into the trailer park thing. I mean, if you haven't already locked it in and whatnot, I could go a little bit more in depth on that. I don't do a whole lot of commercial. I kind of have to lean on some other people's shoulders. I'm still learning a little bit more about commercial. So I may not be
Okay.
the best person for that one. Now, when it comes to like creative things, as far as financing or structuring, seller finance, wraps, subject to, or hey, could I get it, and then could I do other types of things with that property? You got to start looking at, if there's no other trailer parks on it, the regulations and whatnot from the county. I think, as far as I know, I really don't even know if there's any counties that'll even really let you have trailer parks on it anymore, or maybe it depends on how far out you go, because now you're battling with compliance and zoning and stuff like that.
Yeah. See, I wasn't thinking about necessarily just doing an entire park, but probably about 4 trailers, give them about 2 acres apiece, and because that's kind of how it is out there. Like you have, regular single family homes, and then you just have like it might be a mobile home, and they go to cinder blocks under the bottom and call it a day. But because it's in rural areas, so it's not like they're real loose as far as on their rules.
Yeah.
But besides that, I was just thinking, well, this is an opportunity with all this land, because I was just thinking like maybe I should subdivide it and keep the house on 2 acres, and then possibly just rehab it and sell it. I'm trying to weigh in my options instead of just wholesale.
Right.
And start getting more in depth with it.
I mean, it's never a bad idea if you could try to subdivide it and then do something with that house and try to at least cover all of your costs, and then just be left with that property. And then that way, if you dive into it and then you realize, oh, the county's not going to let you, or you made a bad mistake, at least you're left with property that really doesn't have, especially out that far, your taxes are going to be next to nothing. So it's not that big.
Yeah.
At least you've already covered your purchase, your rehab, or whatever else in the other house. So at least you're a little bit safer. So you're definitely being a little more conservative, for sure.
Okay.
I'd have to look at where and the acreage and what's around it to try to get a better feel for that one. Let's go back to your duplex. So you said you've got the duplex too. What are you trying to do with that one? Are you trying to do this right into
I was actually looking to wholesale that also, because I mean it needs a full renovation. I'm looking at probably 100, 110 and renovation. But besides that, I mean, I was planning on wholesaling it. I got a couple people actually coming out there tomorrow that's possibly wanting to get it. But I come across properties all of the time. Like I come across all different kind of situations, and I'm just, I'm tired of trying to evaluate it for other folks. And then
you already got all the deals with that. You might as well start keeping some of them, especially if you don't have to really pay any money for these deals.
So I was flipping. I started flipping them, and I'm not gonna put any names out there, but I partnered with a couple folks, and I was flipping some because they came to me as if they had like unlimited funds and private money, but that dropped. Okay.
I may post this back so a lot of other people can see what we're talking about now.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna speak.
We're gonna mention names.
Thank you for the heads up. But pretty much private funds dry up, and every.
You had some bad.
Am I still here?
There you go. Go for it. I hear you now.
Yes. Yeah. Saw me. But okay. So yeah, private funds dried up, and I just, it kind of put me in a weird situation. I'm actually not partnering with the folks anymore. So I'm just trying to venture out on my own and just learn on my own, so that way I don't get stuck in those situations again. And because due to like the correction of the market and whichever route is taken is trending, I want to try to get as much in as possible, like whether it's rental properties, and I will be, I already I wholesaled 2 subject to deals in which I could have kept, but I was just trying to keep things moving. So I will be getting into subject to a little bit more, because I love that. It was super simple for me, and I was grabbing properties literally coming out the pocket for like $1,000. So it was amazing. But I wholesaled those also. So I would like to use that. And can you refi off a subject to property? I mean, you own the property. So if there is some sort of equity in there.
So here's the thing. So if you were to try to do that and you went to do a refi, then the new lender is going to do what? Ask for the loan payoff, right?
Oh yeah, true. Yeah. Yeah.
You don't want to do that.
Okay. So yeah, at all.
That I'm
Okay.
aware
Yeah, I
of,
didn't even think
okay?
about that.
That I'm aware of. Now, maybe somebody else
Uh,
might jump on this video later and tell me that I was stupid and that I was wrong. Maybe. If so, then great. Teach me
uh,
something new. But no, as far as I know, no. You're just you're just reporting the docs over here, but you're not letting the existing lender know who you are. And if you already structure it correctly,
yeah.
you really don't want to do a refi. Now you might end up just taking it over.
Yeah.
You might just buy it. But by then, hopefully, you already have enough equity. Well, then it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. True. Yeah, you're right. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, subject to is a
Sounds
sexy,
good, man.
sexy,
Sounds
sexy
good.
thing. If you can do more of those, man, you're doing better than a lot of people that are out here. If you can do more subject to deals.
Okay. And I believe I can. I mean, I come across them a lot, and I'm glad I actually learned how to evaluate them right, and just getting through the process, thinking I thought it was harder than what it was, and I actually found out it's just super, super simple.
Nope.
It's just, yeah, it's super simple. So,
And here's another thing.
yeah, besides that, I mean, yeah.
While we're all talking about it, and I know Matt and Perry's still listening on a little bit, here's something really cool too with one of the guys that I just got off the phone with. They've got a deal for, matter of fact, I'm going to post his video as well. He's got a property that seller could be seller finance, but he's got a property that the guy's selling for 138, and it's a trailer park. So that's what I was just telling you about. And he's got $60,000 right now that he can put of his own money. And so he's looking for an investor who will at least fund 80 grand. But then he mentioned he might be able to do seller finance. So I told him, I'm like, well, first off, try to go get that seller finance deal. And then you're going to see where I'm going with this, because it's going to be really related to your wholesale deal. So he could put the $60,000 down and try to seller finance the other 80,000, or almost 80,000, or just shy of 80,000. So that way he reaches the 138. If the seller comes back and was like, nah, I don't want to owner finance the other amount. Well, Mr. Seller, I tell you what if I overpay by $10,000? Now, for me, I'm already thinking I'll overpay 15, 20 grand if I had to, right? I mean, because clearly I'm probably already going to have a little bit of equity in the deal anyway. So I'm probably not reaching, I mean, I might be reaching the actual retail value of the property, but I'm not probably going too much higher than the retail value, right? But let's say I still have to go a little bit above the retail value. So Mr. Seller, I tell you what if I give you $20,000 more than you want right now, if you'll owner finance the remaining amount? And I'll tell you what, let's just do a 5-year balloon. I'll give you $1,000 a month, balloon in 5 years, and I'll pay you $20,000 more than you asked for it. Now, all of a sudden, they're going to be like, okay, wow, they're paying me a lot more. So now, all of a sudden, now it seems a little bit more interesting. Well, why would you pay a lot more? Well, first off, you're hopefully not going to go much above what the retail value is. But here's the reason why, for me, I would be okay if I went a little bit above the retail value. Because did I mention anything about origination?
Nope.
Did I mention anything about interest?
Nope.
$1,000 a month for balloon in 5 years. So let's see, 5 times 12 is 60. So I just paid $60,000 off in 5 months. Well, that only left me 20 grand anyway, or maybe a little bit, $20,000 or $40,000 left to pay on that. But now I didn't pay interest, I didn't pay origination. So if I was 5 or even whatever, if I was $20,000 above, now I'm not saying do this, but if I was $20,000 above the retail value, it's only going to take me 20 months to get back down. And every single thing has been towards the principal. And he can't go anywhere because I've already locked it in with a balloon. So that still gives me 3 more years to pay off 100% towards the principal, which is going to be another $36,000 before it even comes to a balloon. So what does that mean to you as a wholesaler? That's just one extra tool in your tool belt.
Man, a powerful
You really want to try to give them the low cash offer because, hey, if you want me to buy your house today, here's the price. If this number doesn't work for you, then here's the number I can give you. And that might be, hey, this is my purchase price. If it's going to work for my company, this is my purchase price. Well, clearly that doesn't work for them. Well, they want $20,000 more. Okay, well, Mr. Seller, I could probably meet you halfway, but I might have to talk to some of my business partners. They might have a little bit deeper pockets than I do. If we can settle on this number, I think we can make a deal. Well, then that's when you would go to wholesale it to your other partners with deeper pockets. Well, what if they still don't like that middle offer? What if they have to have their offer? And you already know it's not retail, but I surely can't wholesale. And so most wholesalers just hit the road and say, see you later. They never talk to them. Well, now you can say, okay, here's the other option. The third option, I can get closer to your number, but the only way I can do that is if we list it. That's a third option. The third/fourth option could be, okay, Mr. Seller, I can get closer to your price, but here's what we're going to have to do. I'm only going to be able to put a certain dollar amount down right now. If you'll seller finance or your owner finance, seller finance, same thing, the remaining amount or the entire amount. It doesn't have to be the remaining amount. It can be the entire amount. It depends on their situation. If they don't need the money today, then you could probably do an owner finance. You just have to talk to them and explain what that really means. If maybe they need the money in 3 to 5 years, then have a freaking balloon in 3 to 5 years. If that's the way you're going to be to get that deal. And then hopefully it's a deal that a tenant can be in there and pay for your principal right now on that property. And they generally never ask about interest, and almost 100% of the time they never ask about origination, which means you've got into another deal creatively without having to use a private lender or hard money lender or some other asset-based lender. And then again, if that doesn't even work, then you can do the same exact route. Well, okay, I tell you what, I've tried to give you all 3 or 4 of these options. Before you leave and lose the deal, then, I mean, if you want to, you could walk away and then hopefully they'll come back to you. But if you still want to keep trying and trying and trying, then you can still go right back into the, hey, I'll pay you a little bit more than you want. Now, again, you're on a wholesale deal. You already know that they're below the retail value. So maybe you can bring up the amount closer to a retail value more than what they even wanted for it, if they will still do an owner finance on a certain amount or all of it, and hopefully not charge you any kind of interest.
Wow. Wow, I didn't even think of that, man.
Like, hey, I tell you what, I'll give you $5,000 more than you want right now. And then what I'm going to do is for the next 5 years, I'll give you $500 a month on that property. You're obviously, now let's say this is an absentee owner. They're used to being an investor. They like cash flow. So what does that mean? Hey, Mr. Seller, I tell you what, I'll pay you $5,000 more than what you're asking for right now. It's a little bit uncomfortable for me. I mean, even if it's not, but you're like, it's a little uncomfortable for me, but I'll do you a favor if you do me a favor, right? So I'll pay you $5,000 more than, I know my business partner's going to hate me. My wife is going to be yelling at me, but she'll be fine. Everything's going to be fine. I'll give you $5,000 more than what you're asking. And here's what we'll do. $500 a month, and we'll do a balloon in 5 years. That's it. Leave it at that. Say nothing. Now they're getting more. Now, hopefully they don't need the money today. $500 a month, again, goes straight towards the principal. And now you've got a tenant or something else in that property paying for all of that. Obviously, you're going to have insurance and taxes and mortgage. I mean, management fees and stuff like that. You got to take all that into consideration. But you get my point. You can get into those deals a little bit more creatively. And then even if you want to wholesale it to someone else, okay, what do you do? Now you can turn right back around and sell that to somebody else.
Yeah.
And sign it over for another $5,000 or $10,000 because it's going to be worth it to them, because another investor is going to think, sweet, in 5 years, if I write it out, that's 60 grand. That's 60 grand without any interest or origination or anything. That's worth a lot of money. So those are some tips and tricks that I haven't told anybody else other than my team and maybe like 2 or 3 other people. Which I don't know why I just said that, because then if I post this video every MF, yeah.
Just edit it out.
But it helps everybody land some more deals. You know what I mean? It's going to bring in more money to everybody, so it's all good.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So in that scenario, you would just go in and just have the lawyer just draw up the contract initially up front, and then when the balloon payment, basically you have to pay everything back on that 5 years.
Yep. I mean, I've got those contracts, but attorneys have the contracts. And I mean, you could literally just have your normal, I mean, as far as on the contract, you could just have your normal purchase and sale agreement. And then in the special stipulations, you can write all that. But then clearly, to keep you safe and more importantly, to keep your seller safe, you will have to have a note and all that kind of stuff. Security deed, you will still have to have all that. You want to make sure that your seller is protected, right? I mean, if you were in the seller's position, you're not out to sit there and try to gouge these people and be a complete dick and rape them. That's not what you're out there to do. You're giving them more money already, and they're not taking it all up front. You know, they're making money over time. So, I mean, you are helping them out in many ways. So yeah, you will still want to do your security deed, your note. You may or may not want to tell them, hey, I'll even do a personal guarantee. I mean, I still do because I'm not worried about it. And if I'm trying to put myself in everybody else's shoes, so I go a little bit above and beyond. But for some people, maybe they're a little worried about that and they don't want to do a personal guarantee. And so if any of you guys don't know what the personal guarantee is, that means instead of them just being able to come after the property, they can come after you. You know, any which way they can still make the money from you. That's what most private lenders, hard money lenders, they'll probably want you to sign that personal guarantee. So I think that's pretty much it for me, unless you got any other question.
No, good stuff, guys. My phone battery's about to die here, but good stuff, guys. Appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Good to see you, Matt. I appreciate it.
Yes,
All right,
I
have a good one.
appreciate everything.
You got it, Craig. Good to see you, man. Let me know if there's any other thing I can help you with, and I will post this. So I'll tag you guys in it as well, and then I'll try to also put the link so that way you have access to those videos, and then access to all the contacts, which is going to be the property management company, the mortgage, 2 lenders, one that's a hard money lender, but will still do this program for you at the same rate as the private money lender. The private money lender will also lend out for like flips and stuff, but I don't know what either of those parties are going to charge on their rates. You have to kind of take that up with them. But I do know that at least for the rental strategy, I already told you what they will charge you. And then the only other company, then I'll send you over my closing attorney. Most of you guys already have closing attorneys, so you probably won't need that. But if anybody else that's watching the video now, if they need it, I'll give it to you there. And the last thing is the asset-based lender and the portfolio lender. I need to go online and create a video for that and then add it to this automation. And it's all, you sign up, I'm not spamming you guys with anything else. It's literally just like, hey, here it is, go use all the people. Let's build a long-term relationship. And that's all it is. So guys, I appreciate it. Everybody else that's watching this down the road, thank you so much. Hit me up. You guys know where to find me. I'll catch up with you soon.
I appreciate it. Have a good night.
You got it, Craig.
All right,
Talk to you soon. See you guys.
Good one.
Thanks.